Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? John Arvosis here in Washington, D.C. Let me get my TikTok going here. Mirror video. There we go. Oh, how are we all doing? Whoops. Trying to get this going. Oh, boy. This is going to be fun today. All right. I'm moving my setup. You can't tell, but you can on TikTok. Somebody who shall be named suggested I try to get my curtains open, which doesn't really work when it's sunny out. Привет, Nick Pereira. So I'm doing it anyway for that person. And I decided to move you guys on TikTok on my iPad over to my left side for a different view. So at least you're not looking at my ugly curtain. You folks are. So we'll see how this works. It's just a little confusing for me because now I'm like, everything's different. But I suppose this is a good thing. I know you missed the plants. Let's see how it goes. So anyway, welcome everybody. I'm John Arvosis here in Washington, D.C. today. As always, I am here to talk to you about the latest news from Ukraine. And I'm talking like a millennial. Somebody had told me years ago, and I was like, what are you talking about? They go, have you noticed how like millennials, like they end sentences with question marks? I said, what are you talking about? And it's like, so sorry, don't mean to offend half my audience. Oh my, the camera is already flip-flopped. Yes, indeed. So hey, everybody, John Arvosis here doing our daily Ukraine updates. It's 3 after the hour. As always, actually not as always, I'm going to jump in right away with the news. The last couple days, I figured I would just sort of jump in rather than do our normal waiting for a few minutes for folks to join us, because I didn't want to sort of turn people off who already got here. So thank you, all of you who are here. I'm having a sip of my tea. As always, my voice is being evil, but that's life. But now I have ginger lemon tea, which folks tell me will help my voice. So quick little thing, the Arvosis store is open. I mentioned this yesterday. I've got one more product in there. Many more are coming in the next few days. I simplified the URL. It's simply mylastname.com. So arvosis.com will take you there. It's my TikTok handle. It's part of my thing on you all. I'm going to write it here in case it's not painfully obvious. Thank you for that little flying doohickey there. Who was that? Borderline. And I'm just going to jump right into the news, folks. As always, we'll get to the Q&A afterwards. I'll do about 20 minutes of news. Then we do Q&A. And when we do the Q&A, you guys submit questions via my profile on TikTok. You'll see the Q&A button in my profile. You guys, for the rest of you, use the comment box. Or if the spirit so moves you to use a super chat question, that is always quite lovely. And I always promise to answer those. Let me get rolling. So, oh God, the news today. I just like couldn't believe this story when I saw it. I mean, it is so classic. The Russians being just Germany got duped. Let's just call it what it is. Hold on, popping my tea as I talk to you. So remember how Germany and the U.S. helped, but the U.S. helped because Germany, I think, begged. And they put pressure on Canada a few weeks back because Canada had a turbine that the Russians needed for their gas pipeline, their natural gas pipeline. But because of the international sanctions, the Canadians weren't going to return it. They weren't allowed to return the turbine. Well, Russians got all upset. And remember, they cut off their natural gas for 12 days to Germany. They claimed it was maintenance. This was before, mind you, they had already cut gas to 60% of normal, then 40% of normal, and then they cut it off completely. And now the pipeline's back open, but it's only 20% of normal. And I'm getting to the good part. And we know that the Russians also claimed, well, we can't even operate the turbine, even though the gas pipeline, even though they were operating it anyway, of course, because we don't have this piece. Well, in fact, the Russians have a backup for every piece. And in fact, they were operating the turbine. I mean, the pipeline, it was working. Well, the U.S. puts pressure on Canada. Germany puts pressure on Canada. Canada caves. Canada sends the part back to Russia. The part is now in Germany. Guess what? The Russians told the Germans today, we don't want the part. I mean, I'm trying to think of an analogy, and I'm also trying to think of language I can use that isn't sexist and offensive here for what Germany is to Russia. I don't think I'm going to come up with such language effectively before the end of the evening. Putin wanted to see what tricks he could get Germany to do, and he did. He is playing Germany. And I will say it's not the Germans' fault necessarily, but it is the fault of Chancellor Scholz. Scholz has made clear he ain't terribly happy helping, Ukraine. He'd like to have business as usual with Russia, which unfortunately is typical for the German leadership many times. And in any case, the Russians say, we don't want the part. Oh, but it gets better. It gets better. Listen to this. So this was, where's the, hold on. Oh, yes. Moscow says it can't take the part back because of international sanctions. And you see, Moscow doesn't want to run afoul of international sanctions. You see? Oh, hold on. I can't help you if it's glitching, guys. That's a TikTok problem. Sorry, the TikTokers are having a glitching of the video. Yeah, that's a TikTok problem. My connection's good according to TikTok. Not sure what to do. The only thing I can do is I can disconnect and come back. I don't know that it's going to matter because this is a TikTok problem. You want me to? The new angle. It's the new angle. What do you think? The TikTokers, you want me to? All right, I'm going to keep going. So yes. But the story goes on. So Moscow is very worried about violating the international sanctions. You see, so they don't want to take the part because they'd get in trouble, right? So they're asking Germany to prepare some kind of a legal document that proves that the part is not covered by the sanctions. Now, of course, the part is covered by the sanctions. The whole issue here was that the Canadians held up the part because it is covered by sanctions. But just like Europe did, and frankly, Germans helped lead the way on this one too. But just like the European Union pressured Lithuania to continue allowing sanctioned goods to transport across Lithuania back and forth to Russia, because Lithuania stopped it from happening because it's a violation of the sanctions, the Russians freaked out. And of course, when the Russians freaked out, the Europeans freaked out, but Germany was reportedly in the lead. In any case, so they're screwing around. They're simply screwing around, and it's the old, how high would you like me to jump, Mr. Putin? Or as I said on Twitter today, who's a good boy, Germany? Who's a good boy, Germany? Who's your good boy? And I don't mean to knock the Germans, but guys, this is really fucked up what you got going on in your country right now. Your chancellor has caused this. The German chancellor showed weakness. He showed that his heart is not in this, that frankly, he wishes he could violate the sanctions, and that what he's going to do then is promise military equipment and then just not deliver it and drag it out. Some of it's come, but most of it hasn't. The German papers themselves came out and said most of it hasn't gone. And therefore Putin sees Germany is the weakest link. And he's going to play with them as an effort to, first of all, because he can and because he's a dick. I mean, I think that's part of it. But also, he's trying to just piss Germany off and scare Germany until Germany breaks and just says, we can't do this anymore. So anyway, there you go. Actually, that's an excellent point. Skarky just mentioned on TikTok, I thought the Russians didn't care about the sanctions. I mean, and frankly, if we were doing our messaging better on our side, good luck on that. Somebody would be mentioning and going, when the whole issue started with the turbine, going, I'm sorry, I'm confused. I thought the sanctions didn't matter. You told us the sanctions didn't matter, so what's the problem? But just keep throwing that in Russia's face every time they do it. But again, it's like dealing with the Great Hulk. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. We don't want to make Putin angry. We wouldn't like him when he's angry. He's scary. We're little people on the big pond. In any case, let me move on. Sip of hot tea. And then I'll tell you about my doctor visit for my voice today. Who was that? Poppy. Thank you, Poppy. Appreciate that. The British military intelligence as a result of a Ukrainian strike against a Russian ammunition train in Kherson Oblast, southern Ukraine, it is highly unlikely the rail link connecting Kherson with Crimea remains operational. Just to remind folks, one second here, must move my collection of Ukrainian children's drawings. Kherson Oblast, the Kherson region is here. Now that I moved my iPad, I've got to make sure I get this right. Kherson is here, Crimea is here. Coming up this way, the Ukrainians blew up a train the other day. I believe this probably was the train that had like 40 cars. Reportedly, 80 Russian soldiers were killed, 200 were injured. And what British military intelligence is saying is, as a result of that attack, the rail link connecting Crimea, which is the Ukrainian territory that the Russians stole in 2014, the Russians obviously have built it up militarily a lot, and they've been bringing in supplies through there. Well, they're not able to bring anything through because the connection's down. The Brits did say that Russian forces are likely to repair the railway line within a few days, although it will remain a vulnerability for Russian forces and their logistical resupply route from Crimea into Kherson, meaning if the Ukrainians were able to take it out once, they can take it out again. And what's implied here is if this counteroffensive really happens, right? If the Ukrainians really launch this offensive to take back some of the occupied territories in the south, the first thing they're going to do is hit that railway again. Okay. And actually, just to remind folks, I always forget if I tell you all, but so far, until we get this figured out with TikTok, I am beaming on my iPad to the TikTokers there, and on my laptop, you guys, for Twitch and YouTube and the rest of you. So if you notice that I'm looking back and forth, it's not just that I'm crazy. So there you go. Institute for the Study of War. Ukraine has hit 2 ammunition depots in Kherson, which is fabulous. Again, Kherson is that republic, or not republic, but that oblast, the region sort of in southern Ukraine there, right north of Crimea. And it's a region that, as I said, the Ukrainians at least have been putting out noise that they're planning on launching a counteroffensive to get it back. It could be a bluff, but we think if it's not a bluff, it could be happening in the next 2 to 3 weeks. The initial attack, that is. And then you might have a month and a half to try to get it back. That was an analysis that I read to you guys yesterday. So more Institute for the Study of War, which is a defense think tank that I like a lot, that's here in Washington, D.C. ISW says, this was good. This was great, actually. A number of reports on the resistance. And remember, I keep trying to sort of tell you folks, the resistance are the Wolverines for the Americans here, or I should say for the Americans over 45, maybe, the Wolverines. The resistance are the partisans, like the French resistance in World War II. They're the folks behind Hogan's Heroes, the folks behind enemy lines who are secretly working with their government back home. In other words, Ukrainian citizens who are in cities in Ukraine that have been occupied by the Russians, and they're secretly working with Ukrainian intelligence and blowing things up. Well, the Ukrainian Resistance Center reported on August 2nd, which would be yesterday, that Ukrainian this is a freaking great story. Again, if somebody finds video of this, it's pure Benny Hill. The Ukrainian civilians chased 40 Russian doctors out of abandoned homes in which they tried to settle in Berislav in Kherson Oblast. So these idiot Russians came and, of course, stole the homes of Ukrainian citizens who were forced out because of war. And the Russians are coming and just stealing their homes. The Ukrainians got together and just chased 40 of these Russians out of the homes and just like pissed off Ukrainians doing their best, honey badger. Absolutely amazing. Russian occupation authorities have been forced to import Russian civilian doctors. Now, this appears to be in Kherson as well. I had talked about this the other day in Donetsk or Luhansk. I don't remember which it was. It was out here in the east, and I had reported that the Russians the Ukrainian doctors were refusing to doctor, and the nurses and the physician's assistants. And the Russians were being forced to bring in doctors from far away from Russia because the Ukrainians were like, we're not doing this anymore. We're not helping you. Well, the same thing now appears to be happening in Kherson. the Russian authorities have been forced to import Russian civilian doctors on temporary military tours to treat injured Russian service members because many Ukrainian medical staff members either evacuated occupied areas or refused to collaborate with Russian occupation forces. In other words, the Ukrainian doctors, nurses, medical personnel are refusing to treat the Russians, which, I say more power. It's an interesting question. Excuse me. It's an interesting question. You are European. I am American and you are a blocked European. I love this. I am European and, oh shit, what did I just do? I am European and you are false. I'm like, yeah, sure. Sure. Hold on. Just making sure I got this right. Sorry about that. Oops, I need to check one thing. Sorry, guys. Let me check one thing here. Make sure I didn't just screw up. I want to make sure I didn't push the wrong button here. 1 second. Sorry. Settings. I'll tell you in a second what I just did. You're going to laugh. You're going to laugh. I went to, there they are. I went to block the troll, and instead I made the troll a moderator. Oh, boy. That was a close one. I just, there we go. They're gone. Whoo. And I did, in fact, do it. That is what I was afraid I just did. Oh, my. But yes, I am European. You are wrong. Even that argument, like, oh, well, if you're European, how could I argue with you then? You're European. No, I love Europeans. I speak many European languages, but I've never heard somebody make the argument, I am European. You are wrong. Yes, well, whatever. All right. So in any case, I was going to say medical ethics, though. It's a really interesting question because in my country, I'm going to assume it's also your country and everybody out there. Thank you, Wanda, I'm calling you Wanda for that. It is part of medical ethics, the Hippocratic Oath, that they treat everybody. And you always see, thank you, the inspired woman, you always see on like TV shows, doctor shows and things like that, that they've got to treat somebody who was a mass murderer. There's a mass shooting, and in one bed, they've got the kid who's the shooter, and in the other bed, they've got an old woman who's dying, and, this kind of thing. And how the doctors have to treat how they've got to treat the alleged murderer, because that's their oath. But it's an interesting question because I got to tell you, if we were occupied territory, I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't be doing it I'm not a doctor, but I'll just throw this out to you guys. Because I'm going to continue with the news here, but anybody who is sort of medical professional, what do you think would happen during wartime? It's a really interesting question, Elise is saying just that. It's really hard, the question whether to treat Russians. A lot of anguish for each doctor and nurse. Because it is the medical ethics that you're supposed to treat whoever. Now, there's an interesting question of, are the Russians even letting you treat Ukrainians, for example? Like, for example, if you were working at a hospital, if they let the hospital function, if they let regular Ukrainians come into the hospital, right? But, the emergency siren goes and the ambulance is arriving with Russian soldiers. And you had the option not to treat them. And they, let's face it, if you didn't treat Russian soldiers, I'd also be afraid they'd kill my family. But let's just pretend the Russians aren't going to kill you and your family if you say no. Would you treat the Russian soldier, all things being equal? FW says you could argue that if you save him, he'll kill 2 more people. Oh, he will absolutely kill more people. It's presumed he will kill more people. Who even says I am European? Well, that was the other thing I was thinking. Yeah. I am European. I think we have another t-shirt building here. I am European. You are wrong. Well, that would be also when you're talking about Russia, could you imagine actually that's something an American would say. It is. I wouldn't say it like, I'm an American. You're wrong. It's just, anyway. I'm a trained CNA, which I'm guessing is a nurse or nurse assistant, maybe something like that. Anyway, I'm sure it's medicine, LaShawn. And even if the person is racist and screaming at you, you have to treat the patient. I know. Unless they get violent, then you can ask a fellow professional to assist. No, that is true. cure all patients, but I don't know if I could do it, Deb says. Exactly. Not as hard if it's a question of triage. I agree with that. If it's a question of treat the Ukrainian versus treat the occupier, yeah. But if it literally is, you got Russian troops who were injured by the resistance and they need surgery, and you're a Ukrainian, and there's no issue of you being worried about repercussions. So you're not worried about your family, and you're not worried about losing your license. Let's put it that way too. It's literally a pure ethics question. Duty to treat. Yeah, see, I'm getting a lot of the ethicists, which I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised, you know. I'm not sure what I would do. Abby says you treat the legs. It doesn't matter who you treat. Yeah. But I think I am much more amenable to the argument of it doesn't matter who they are. You treat them when you're talking about race or being gay or even being a bigot. Although, frankly, if it's a mass shooter, if I had a choice, I would not be treating the mass shooter. Okay, I wouldn't do it. Norvegia. Oh, Norvège, I'm guessing. Oh, Norway, I'm going to guess in Greek. Oh, nice to meet you. But right, I don't mean to sort of get off on a tangent here, but I think it's an interesting tangent. I wouldn't. If I had the choice and I wouldn't lose my job and they weren't going to kill me, there's no way that I would treat a mass shooter. Or if I had the choice, I'd say no. And there were no repercussions. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I believe in the oath, but I don't think that's doing harm, so to speak. Yeah. Well, also because I'd be the first person, if I could, who would join the resistance to do something to that same soldier in the evening. So it's a little weird that I literally would be the same person where, you know, the doctor has to treat him during the day, but then at night it's okay for the doctor to go and blow the soldier up as part of the resistance. I mean, it's weird. Lilia is saying, as a nurse, I literally swore to treat even the worst people. As a Ukrainian, it probably would kill me. That's what I mean. It's because also the thing too is I'm just not, I mean, look, I think some of these ethical situations, I will say this for the law actually. Okay. You know, people, sort of the idea, it is the idea that we have in the States where, you know, everyone's supposed to have the right to an attorney, meaning if you're prosecuted for a crime or whatever. And the idea among lawyers is everyone deserves to be represented, so that lawyers don't usually get a lot of crap for representing bad clients. They really don't. I mean, they just don't. Because the idea is, you know, everyone deserves to be represented. It's okay. And it's the same thing as the medical field. And I get it from the perspective of what outcome you're looking for. Okay. Whether it's in the law or whether it's within medicine, the field is set up where you want an outcome where people are able to use your services, and you don't get into this silly game, which frankly, we are starting to have in some states in my country where, you know, well, yes, I will accept any client or I will accept anybody through the door, but I'm not sure I like black people, right? I'll let anybody through the door, but I'm not sure I like gay people. I'm a pharmacist, but, you know, contraception, literally, I'm a pharmacist, but contraception is offensive to my religion, so I'm not going to give any contraception. We have had this at pharmacies in America where there's only one pharmacist working and women come in for contraception and the pharmacist, a prescription contraception, and the pharmacist refuses to do it because they say, no, it's against my religion. And they're the only pharmacist working, right? And that is what you are trying to avoid by saying you treat everybody, you represent everybody. Obviously, you don't represent everybody. Lori gets to pick their clients, but you don't get to sort of pick them in that way so that nobody is left out. I'm not sure wartime was what we were planning for, though. You know? Anyway, I'm going to let it go. But I think it's a really fascinating thing. I get the ethics of it. I get it. Let me just see real quick. Lee says these situations let me get my glasses here. These situations cause what is called moral injury with effects down the road. The most helpful thing is support and consensus from colleagues and institutions. Okay, that was a vague answer, though. Susan Krauthamel, maybe. I'm an RN, registered nurse, and had to take care of a big mafia man that was with 4 armed guards. I had no problems giving him care as he was going back to prison and on death row. That's interesting, too, though. That's interesting, too, because you could have made an argument that he's on death row anyway, so what difference does it make if I don't treat him, right? If he doesn't get medical care, who cares? He's been sentenced to death. That's what death row is for anybody who doesn't know. It means he's been given the death penalty and he's waiting to be executed. No, I get it. Trust me. I'm being devil's advocate here, which is another neat expression we use in English. Devil's advocate. To play devil's advocate. It means to make an argument that you don't necessarily believe in, but you think it's important to advance the argument, to see the counter argument. So you play devil's advocate. But I'm definitely more in the middle on this, or I'm on the side of not treating, really. Now we have phlebotomists not taking blood from people with monkeypox. Is that true? I wouldn't be surprised. It's still buffering, huh? I could restart my router, but I don't think that's the... I'm going to do one thing really quick, just for not for fun here. Speed. I'm going to do a quick speed test while we're talking. Although my speed should be slowed down here. All right, folks, just doing a quick speed because the TikTok people, it's still going slowly. Although oh no. Well, no, my download speed is crazy fast, of course. My download speed is always like 330. Let's see what my upload is. Hopefully my upload's around 10. Even with this, yeah, my speed's fine. This is a TikTok problem. Even with everything I'm doing right now, my upload speeds are still testing 9.4, which in America is really good. Yeah, I'm sorry, TikTokers. It's not me. Yeah, it's TikTok. It's TikTok's router today, unfortunately, or whatever they call it in the big TikTok in the sky. Sorry about that. All right. I'm a Ukrainian doctor. Oh, here we go, Alec. If I were a Ukrainian doctor, I would only treat a Russian if they were a civilian or if they were a POW. That's interesting. I'd have an issue with a POW, yes. POW, yes. I would have an issue with a civilian because the civilians can get the hell out of my country, right? I mean, so I would still have a problem there. But I agree on the POW front, because on the POW side, again, it all comes down, because I also think, I'm a lawyer by training, and I'm also a political guy in terms of by training as well. And I'm always thinking what outcome I want. So if it were a prisoner of war, I want my prisoners of war treated well. So I'm going to treat their prisoners of war well, even though, frankly, we know this is Russia. And we know that the fact that we treat their prisoners well has no bearing on how they will treat our prisoners. But nonetheless, any case. All right, guys, let me move on. That was interesting, though. What else we got here? Oh, the Ukrainian Resistance Center also reported on August 2nd that many schools in occupied areas will be unable to open by September 1st, the ordinary start of the school year, because Ukrainian children and their families have either left or are unwilling to attend Russian-run schools. They're also having a problem with Ukrainian teachers who are refusing to participate in the curriculum, and it's forcing Russian occupation authorities to import teachers from Russia and occupied Crimea. So that was interesting. Hang on a sec. Oops. I'm moving my little kids' pictures. I don't want to ruin these things. Sorry, I was looking at them earlier today. All right, hold on a second here. I'm moving these out of the way. I've still got the kids' drawings here, but I don't want them just sitting on my table because I will get something on them. The first Ukrainian vessel with grain. So the grain vessel is still going well. This we had learned about yesterday was that under the agreement that the Russians reached with the Ukrainians, the Turks, and the United Nations helped, they have the first ship got off with grain. It has already touched base in Turkey. It's already been, what's the word? Not investigated, inspected by all parties. That's part of the agreement. And it is on its way to Tripoli, Lebanon, which is good. A little bit of breaking news right before I came on. Switzerland has adopted the European Union sanctions on Russia's spare bank. So that's good. Since, Switzerland, obviously huge for banking, and one tends to think of the Swiss as being non-aligned. I was going to say objective. That's not the word I'm looking for. Non-aligned. So the Swiss have been actually quite good about joining in the sanctions, less good about authorizing Swiss-made weapons to go to Ukraine. They've not allowed that, but still, this is good. This was a really bad story, kind of horrifying. So, and okay. Sorry, Joseph had another final comment on what we were talking about with the ethics. I am not an intellectual, even if I sometimes may think I am. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think ethics are probably what make us human. Ethics are what make us good humans, right? Well, okay. Ethics, it kind of depends. This gets complicated. Because ethics, and we had this discussion in high school, and I remember I never totally understood it. Now I do. The difference between ethics and morals. Ethics are our code of conduct for like a profession, and morality is more your code of conduct for your everyday life and things. I'm probably giving a really bad definition, but that's sort of the difference. So you could argue that morality is what makes you a good human being. Ethics is more, I don't know. I don't necessarily think although we do think of somebody, I sometimes wonder if we don't intermix the two, because when we think of somebody as ethical, as a good person, I think we may be thinking of them as moral, like an ethical person doesn't steal the money. Is that an ethical person or is that a moral person? Right? I kind of think of that as more of a personal, that it shines on you personal. It's not an indication of how John handles the job of banker. It actually says John doesn't like to steal, period, even in a personal setting. Morals is your guiding compass, and ethics is how they guide at work, maybe. I don't know. All right. Sorry. Let me keep going. Oh yeah. So there's a big story. So the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, which is somewhere, I still haven't found it on the map. I keep meaning to, but the town of Zaporizhzhia is here. Okay. Oops. In eastern Ukraine. It is not occupied. South of there is occupied by the Russians, and most of the Zaporizhzhia Oblast, a lot of it's down here, is occupied by the Russians. Zaporizhzhia, the town, is not. The nuclear plant, I kind of feel like it's down here. The nuclear plant is occupied by the Russians. Thank you, Elle, for that little thing. Is occupied by the Russians, and the UN nuclear chief warned today, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, you will hear it mentioned, you probably have before, came out today and said that the situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, which is Europe's largest nuclear plant, is, quote, completely out of control. And he issued an urgent plea, this is from the Associated Press, from an urgent plea to Russia and Ukraine to quickly allow experts to visit the sprawling complex to stabilize the situation and avoid a nuclear accident. I'm going to read you a little bit more from here because it just, the details really are scary. Every principle of nuclear safety has been violated at the plant, he said. What is at stake is extremely serious and extremely grave and dangerous. He cited many violations of the plant's safety, adding that it is in a place where active war is ongoing. Okay, that we know. The physical integrity of the plant hasn't been respected. He's talking about shelling in the area. There is a paradoxical situation in which the plant is controlled by Russia, but its Ukrainian staff continue to run its nuclear operations, leading to inevitable moments of friction and alleged violence, he says. While the IAEA has some contacts with staff, they are faulty and patchy. Grossi said the supply chain of equipment and spare parts has been interrupted. So they're not even getting the equipment or the spare parts that they need for this nuclear plant. So we are not sure the plant is getting all it needs. The IAEA also needs to perform very important inspections. They're not getting to do the inspections either. And there's a lot of nuclear material to be inspected that they're not inspecting either. Absolute. We've talked about this before. Now, the Chernobyl thing, remember with Zaporizhzhia, I want to say, wasn't that, of course it was the plant, because there are only 2 plants we were talking about. With Zaporizhzhia, I remember early on when we were worried about it, people were saying it was different than Chernobyl, like a different kind of plant, and didn't have the same risk and blah, 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 blah. Having said that, I guess we'd have to get like a nuclear expert here. But like, if you don't take care of me, there's still fuel rods, aren't there? I mean, isn't there water to cool the fuel rod? I mean, isn't it a typical nuclear plant in that regard? Or like, if you don't take care of it, things can overheat and blow up. I'm just assuming. I mean, and frankly, the way this guy who heads up the IAEA is talking, it sure sounds that way. Just Putin. I think Putin wants these things to blow up. Yeah, actually, that's the next thing. Downey Chick says the Russians have moved their ammunition there. The next thing, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken also noted that Russian forces are continuing to use the occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant just south of Nikopol as a human shield for their military base, knowing that Ukrainian forces will not fire at the plant. It will melt down. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, if anybody here knows sort of nuclear plants, I mean, we sort of get an interesting cross-section of your guys' expertise. Right, Zaporizhzhia represents 20% of Ukrainian energy. Eric says it's also the largest nuclear plant in Europe, I believe. It's not a small deal. No, I think you have the active rods and the spent rods, correct? Right. You're cooling down cooling down. You get the active rods and then, correct. Both of them are in water, so to speak, but yes. No, I think he wants it to melt down. I think he really does. I think from the beginning, the Russians have been playing fast and loose with these things because they would like nothing better than have a nuclear meltdown in Ukraine. I mean, the Russians want the land back, but as they made clear, they don't totally care in what condition. They've made clear with the cities, they don't care if the cities are blown up. I mean, literally blown up. The cities have been destroyed that they're getting. They don't care. They're just happy to, get it. It melts down. It'll poison half of Europe. As we say in English, that's a feature, not a glitch, right? That's not a warning. That's exactly what Putin's probably been told. Yeah, if we can get it to melt down, it'll poison half of Europe. And then the Europeans will say, oh, this wasn't worth it. And it'll hurt GDP in Europe for years to come and blah, 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 blah. Well, it might rain on them too. I don't know if Putin cares. Think about it. He gets to stay in power because the corrupt Ukrainian NZs blew up a nuclear plant and now Russians are suffering, right? All this kind of stuff. And then he tries to solidify his support at home. Let me go on. The Pentagon. Oh, this was good too. So the Pentagon has dismissed Russian claims of destroying multiple HIMARS in Ukraine. The HIMARS are the rocket system that the U.S. has provided to Ukraine. They should have 16 of them in place now. And the Ukrainians have been using them to great effect to blow up Russian ammunition, Russian railroads, Russian command and control, and Russian bridges. And at least cause enough damage to Russian bridges that they can't use them for anything heavy like tanks and things like that. The Russians recently claimed that they destroyed 6 of the HIMARS. They had 2 initially they claimed to destroy, and everyone said it was total BS. Now they've claimed they destroyed another 4, okay? And it was the defense minister. The defense minister claimed they destroyed another 4. The Pentagon spokesman said, we're aware. What's wrong with you? Can't help you right now, Sash. My dog is in her bed, and I think I've told you this before. My dog has a special sound she makes when the blanket is off the bed and she can't get it on top of herself. She makes a special whine where she goes, "Rrr," and she just did it because she's in her bed. Sorry, Sash. I'm kind of in the middle of something here. Could you hear it, Ashley? I never know if people can, because using my good mic, it's a lot harder to hear background noise. This mic is intended for you not to hear background noise, is why I like it. It's a much better mic. But yeah. That's my girl. Well, we'll give a minute. We'll give a minute. I'm almost done with the news. When I finish the news, I'll go and I'll cover Sasha. Okay. um, so, oh, this was good. So the other day, I honestly, I thought the video was a fake, so I didn't show you guys. I was convinced this was meaning I convinced the claim was a fake, and it was and apparently it's true. The Russians put out video to prove that the HIMARS, which is, let me I'm going to find this just to show you. Okay. So you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, it's basically a truck with rockets on the back. Okay. And hold on, HIMARS. Easy thing to misspell, and then you get God knows Himara, which I know Himara. Himara is a town in Albania. I know that because my great grandfather's nickname was Himara, because even though he's Greek, we suspect there's a Albanian influence there. Pull up HIMARS, not Himara. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, good enough. So you can sort of get the picture there. It's a truck with rockets on the back. Okay, truck, rockets on the back. So the Russians released video to prove that they just blew up 4 of these, and they said 2 of them, bingo style cat, 2 of them were in this building, and this video is showing our drone or our missile coming in, zooming into the building. Well, they're zooming into a multi-story building, and they're zooming into the 2nd floor of the building. For the French, it would be the 1st floor. In other words, the 1st floor off the ground, not the ground. And it's a truck. It's a truck. I mean, there's no way, right? There's just no, I mean, there's no way this truck was on the 2nd floor of a building. Okay. Anyway, absolutely ridiculous. But in any case, so the U.S. Defense Department is saying, no way. Didn't happen. More good news. Ukraine's Army of Drones initiative raised over $20 million, which is the equivalent of 20 million euros. They had launched this platform. God, I think maybe they launched it 2 months ago now. They don't say when they launched it, but I want to say, because I remember pulling up the website and going, this is a really cool website. But they were trying to crowdfund to raise drones. They raised 20 million with, it fundraises the purchase and repair of drones. Most donors came from the US, the UK, Ireland, look at you, number 3, Germany, okay, actually Germany and France. This is why I try to make a difference between the German citizens and the French citizens and their current government. Germany and France, Switzerland, which is also really interesting, actually. You know what I mean? Because Swiss being neutral. Switzerland, Australia, and Israel. Actually, Israel, I'm not really surprised because the Israeli government is feeling the need to be nice to the Russians. But I would think, a lot of Israelis escaped Russia. I mean, they've got ties to the motherland, but they also know what a horrible government it can be, so that doesn't surprise me. Speaking of drones, this was from, I think this is still Institute for the Study of War. There were initial unconfirmed reports from August 2nd suggesting that Iran may have sent the first batch of unarmed vehicles, or unmanned armed vehicle. Would a UAV be unmanned armed vehicle or unarmed vehicle? I'm going to go unmanned armed vehicle, I think. Nonetheless, drones, that the first Ukrainian drones may have been provided to Russia for field testing. US-based open source intelligence Twitter accounts cited unofficial Iranian sources claiming that Iran sent a batch of UAVs to Russia, along with Iranian pilots and technicians who will train for the use and repair of Russian Su-35 aircraft, the unmanned aerial vehicle. Okay, so we don't know then whether it was an armed one or not. The thinking is that they reached a deal with the Russians where the Russians will provide Su-35 aircraft to the Iranians, and the Iranians will provide the drones to Russia and the technical, training on how to use the drones. Looking here, I'll give this last one really quick. It's a good one. Forbes has estimated that the cost of let me start it this way. Russia launched 8 KH-101 missiles at Ukraine on August 2nd, which was yesterday. 7 of them were shot down, including 6 by anti-aircraft missile forces and 1 by an Air Force jet. Ukraine's Air Force reported. Forbes did an analysis, Forbes Ukraine, and estimated that the missiles cost Russia $91 million that one day alone. It's interesting to sort of think of it in costs like that, because it also gives you a sense of how expensive it is, obviously, to try to get this stuff repaired or to build new stuff. All right. Well, she's not whining anymore. I'll leave the dog as is. If she makes the noise again, I'll get her. See, she's smart enough too that she knows, like, if she whines and I don't cover her up, it means I'm doing something else. So I'm getting a little more of my tea. So, all right, I'm done with the news segment. Now we'll get to the Q&A and the hanging out. So just as a word, I did go to the doctor today, finally, again, for my voice. And bottom line is they think it's acid. I've had basically laryngitis for a month. They think it's acid reflux. They think it could have been aggravated by my monkeypox shot because it was giving me a sore throat. It could have been aggravated. They even think by the antibiotics the doctor gave me, but they think it's acid reflux. So I'm on the little pills from the pharmacy across the street, the 24-hour pills. I've got I actually bought honey ginger tea because you guys said that's what I should get. I know, it's such a cop-out. Like, not that I want it to be cancer or something, but I was like, acid reflux? And it's silent reflux. So actually, this tea has probiotics in it, which I thought was very strange. I was like, what kind of tea has probiotics? It's not, I don't know what it is. It's one of the, I don't know, one of the don't get acid reflux pills, 24-hour. Who knows? She just told me to get one and take it, so I took it. In any case, so there we are. So she said, hopefully in the next 2 weeks it gets better. Okay, guys. All right, I see a fight going on here. Let's stop the fight over on YouTube. Okay, guys, stop it, please. Please stop. All right, or at least take it offline. But it freaks everybody else out when you guys start fighting. There's a YouTube fight going on. I know I didn't do a TikTok update today. I only did a couple yesterday because I have been busy working with Syndicate, who's been busting his butt. Okay, now the dog is begging me to cover her again. Okay, 1 second. One moment. All right, you. Okay, that was just pathetic this time. All right. There you go. All right. Ooh. There we go. But yeah, no, I was working on the Discord. Actually, Syndicate was doing more of the Discord, but I was working on the shop, the store. And to do that, to get the store working is a lot of hours of editing images and things. So I was focusing, and then I had a doctor's appointment today. So I've been doing that. I'll have to, all right. But everybody just try to calm it down, guys. Okay. Try to calm it. Just, we get heated. We all know each other. We're becoming like a family. So it's easy to get pissed at each other. Just, chill it out. Shake it out, please. I don't think it's politics. I just think it's people getting upset at each other. But all right. So yes, let's move to the Q&A. Harvey, I saw I had something here. Harvikins, thoughts on Lavrov's visit to Myanmar? Birds of a feather? I mean, I'm not sure. It could be seen to undermine, hold on, I got to get my glasses to double check. I'm assuming that's China. China's influence in the region, with Russia negotiating to send more aid than Chinese does currently. Oh, that's interesting. Was this politically wise for Russia? Oh, I see what you mean. That's interesting. I mean, my guess, they want something. The Russians want something. It's got to be sanctions busting. Other than them buying oil, what could Myanmar possibly provide to Russia? You know what I mean? I can't imagine but do you think they produce any machine parts? Do you think Myanmar produces anything? I do the recap at the very end. Yeah, I do the recap at the very end. But do you think Myanmar produces anything? You know, I'm just wondering if it's just to buy Russian oil. And in Myanmar's case, they've got the Russians showing up going, hey, hey, hey. So it helps to give their government legitimacy, you know? And didn't they just execute somebody too, or a couple of activists or something? The government there. So this is just one more chance for Russia to be buddy. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But I agree. If it would be stupid of Russia to go in there and try to somehow push China out as their number one trading partner or something, that would be really dumb. I agree with that, because Russia needs to rely on China. However, China's helping Russia. You know, they don't need China to become negative. It would mostly do with rubber and oil production for the war effort. Oil production for the Russian war effort? But does Russia need oil? What do you mean oil production? You know? Just looking to see what else you guys are suggesting here. I don't know. Just seeing here. Did the Senate did the Senate just vote to approve Finland and Sweden's NATO membership? Oh, that's good. Excellent. A couple different people are saying it. Good. Inspired woman, I'm trusting you as a trusted member of the Sasha News Network. Excellent. Well, that's good news. The U.S. Senate just confirmed, and it's the Senate that confirms treaties. It is not the House. So for whatever crazy reason, that's a job for the U.S. Senate here. So that at least is out of the way, because we had Rand Paul, who Republican representing Moscow, he spoke up, and the other one, Josh Hawley, Hawley's tough to, Hawley's not tough to figure out, because Hawley is like ambition wrapped up in the body of a human being. So Hawley's kind of obvious in that regard, but Hawley has decided that, well, he was arguing that the Europeans don't do enough to defend themselves and they always turn to America. And therefore it's wrong to let Finland and Sweden into NATO because we'd have to go to war to defend them. And it was kind of like, no, if they join NATO, then all of Europe has to defend them and they have to defend all of Europe. That's kind of the point. And that's kind of your argument. You were just saying you think Europe should start defending itself more, taking the initiative, but again, he's representing himself. Exactly. No, he wants to be president. He thinks he's pretty. I mean that sincerely. He's a pretty boy, and I'm always I don't mind, love guys that look good, but he's a pretty boy. I think he spends a lot of time worrying about his hair, and his look, and people like that. He wants to be a pretty president someday. And I'm just like, you know what? The job's about more than you being pretty, and more than you wanting the job. I don't think he stands for anything else. All right, let me go look at the questions on TikTok. I'm still not convinced that I like this layout, by the way, putting TikTok over here, because part of the problem, as I said, an unnamed somebody wanted me to try the curtains open, but I couldn't do, well, I've got this. This is now requiring my ring light to be on full, and it's driving my eyes crazy. And you guys being there, I don't hate. It's okay. It's a little weird, but that I hate. That I absolutely hate. So I'm about to close the curtains, and I am going to close the curtains. It's driving me insane. Hold on, guys. Because I'm right in the path of the sun. All right. It was worth a try. All right. It was worth a try. What can I say? Well, first of all, notice how much brighter I just got, especially for you guys, by doing that. All right, let me go lower. It's funny the difference a camera and an angle makes. Also because this is something you'll learn if you ever do video stuff. Actually, if you ever do video stuff, or if you ever, I'm wearing my regular, they're not short shorts, they're shorts. um, if you're ever in my job, like in politics, I've had to worry about taking photos, about posing people, about lighting and all this kind of stuff. And it always amazes me the difference because, for example, when I move away, my TikTok today, I've been tired for like the last 2 years, and it shows under my eyes. It's much less obvious from here, I think, than when I get the curtain. When I'm in front of the curtain, it's like, whoa. But it's funny, the difference, all the kind of, it's just, anyway, it's funny. Okay, enough of that. So let me look for the questions here. Oh, stop ogling my legs, you horrible people. Do you think that the UN has lost its relevance? They seem to be useless. I mean, I'm not sure. Look, even though PB&J, I know you're trying to goad me into a discussion about the UN, and I will not do it. For those who don't know, I was an employee of the United Nations, and I quit after a year because it was the worst job experience of my entire life. And I've worked for some real assholes. And yet the UN was the worst. I worked for a psychopath. She wasn't a psychopath. She was a bully. She bullied her staff. She harassed her staff. She did not know the job. She was incompetent. And she literally had people in therapy, multiple members of her staff in therapy. I saw multiple people break into tears. Horrific human being. Somebody came on and told me she was fired when she left a couple of years ago. I don't know. Any case, she was the head of communications for UNDP. Horrific organization. I mean, just horrible. Her boss was horrible too. I mean, he was horrific. Well, she was head of, what should I say? She was head of communications. He was head of the whole bureau, and the whole system, the whole UN system's corrupt as hell. In any case, but I guess I'm trying to, no UN rant. I'm back. I'm backing away. Back away, John. Back away from the UN. Back away from the UN. It's not worth it. It's like, all right. The thing is, I have always been told the UN does good work in the field. Okay. So I don't know what the field offices do, meaning how they do their work, because at headquarters, you just don't see that. You have no idea. Headquarters is all about you making money personally, you shitting on other people because you work for the UN. So you're obviously a superior Ubermensch because you work at the UN. So you're fabulous. And it's about you shitting on everyone else you work for, and making more money for the UN. We were paid at the UN to literally make you give us even more money. It was absolutely ridiculous. But in any case, I did always hear tell that the local offices did good work. My suspicion is a lot of the local offices are filled by local nationals who are probably good people versus the UN staff who are just prima donnas and horrific and overpaid. Yeah. Working there must be great. I mean, no, the problem is it's yeah. Any case, all right, I backed away nicely. But I mean, so I'm saying I don't really know that they're less relevant today. I'm not sure what the UN has done. I mean, it gives us a place for everyone to meet. I don't disagree with that, but trust me, I wanted to. No, I'm too old to have captured bullying. I have one conversation taped that I'm keeping just to keep it, of my boss. Literally, imagine your boss sitting down with you and telling you you need to go see a therapist or a psychiatrist. She literally freaking told me that. And she told me, and I was recording it, and she told me in a way where she was like, I think you should see someone. And I went, who? She goes, well, I know some people. I've seen some people. I could have you talk to them. I'm like, sure. Who do you want me to talk to? I think you know. And I went, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she just kept going on and on. It was, oh my God. But literally, imagine and I'm sitting here going, she's an American, but she's so freaking lucky that she was at the United Nations, because I would own her ass if she worked in a regular American employer, which I believe she does now. The lawsuits would have been flying fast and furious, and that employer would have been in so much trouble. You know, to literally suggest your staffer go to therapy is such a violation. I mean, anyway, this is the UN, folks. Okay, enough about that. Taiwan, we talked about Taiwan the other day. I'm not sure what to really get into. I mean, we talked about the fact that the U.S. clearly looks at Taiwan as being okay. The U.S. did look at Taiwan as being, I was thinking HIPAA too, at being much more, have you ever considered seeing a bartender? Actually, that's what I should have said. I should have said, are you trying to set me up with one of your friends? And then try not to break into hysterics. Oh my God. This is the boss. This is the boss that, okay, you did it to me. I'm stopping after this. This is the boss who she finally decided she was going to come after me and wrote this letter that I was supposed to sign some confession of something. And I was like, I'm not signing. What are you talking about? And she goes, well, I want a response. So I went home, called a lawyer, I hired a lawyer, wrote this like 2-page response to her letter and explained everything she complained about. I explained in the letter how, oh, well, that thing you complained about, actually, that was something you told me to do. That was something. And I said, I've got the notes on this day you told me. So the whole letter was saying how, yes, everything you complained about actually is because I followed your instructions to a T. And she read the letter. And I didn't tell her I had a lawyer yet. She read the letter. And this woman, imagine your worst bully. I know, who mentioned the UN? Imagine your worst bully of a boss of your lifetime. Supreme, horrible, asshole, inferiority complex of a human being. So they got to domineer you. And she reads the letter. And she's one of those, clearly she had kids. And she's one of those people, and I wish they wouldn't do this, but they bring their kids to the workplace. And what I mean is in here, and they treat you like they're your kids. Okay. And I'm like, I'm not your freaking kid, but she came there, she reads it and she goes, and she gave me and she goes, I am so disappointed. Now, I had already hired the lawyer. I mean, I'd been a basket case before because she just had me going. I mean, literally had me terrified. Once I got the lawyer, I was like, but I love I'm so disappointed. And I looked at her and I went, I just kind of looked. And she finally goes, aren't you? And she goes, and I looked and she goes, so I looked like, aren't you going to say something? And I said, I didn't hear a question. I have spent I'm not going to tell you how old I am. I have spent every year of my life waiting for an opportunity for somebody who was just livid at me to expect a response, but not to ask anything, for me to say, I'm sorry, I didn't hear a question. All right. I did let you, this was the black hole of the UN. You knew better. You knew better. It was very funny. Well, no, I'm a lawyer, but lawyers know not to be your own lawyer. No, you're the worst thing. When you're terrified about your job, you move to a new city. My God, I had a rent. I was paying $3,200 a month in rent. Okay. And I had to sign for a year. Can you imagine losing your job and you owe rent for $3,000 a year? I was like, holy shit. Right. I mean, you're terrified. You've moved to a new city and the new city you moved to is New York City. So you're kind of like, no, it's a terrifying thing. So yeah, no, lawyers hire lawyers. You don't represent yourself. That's the old, it's an old cliche, but it's true. A lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client. Think about that. Yes, still doing Q&A. Let me look up the Q&A, the questions on TikTok. We got onto a tangent here, guys. I blame PB&J, I think was the one who did it. Bad PB&J. I have got to find out if that woman was fired, though. Somebody came on and said they were an old coworker, but didn't tell me their name. And they used her name so they knew who she was and said, oh, her name was Mila. I'll tell you right now, Mila, M-I-L-A. And they told me, they said she was fired. And I was like, really? I'd like to know that. So I'd like to know that. And I'd love to get a hold of people working for her currently, because I guarantee you, probably people have no idea that there is a long string of her behavior. So yeah, China and South America, nothing other than I know China's been, well, I knew China was making big roadways into Africa. I didn't know about South America. How tall are you? 5'9.5". And if you're a foreigner, I used to know 177. Does that make sense? I think I'm 177. I don't remember. I think I'm 177. I forget. How about Kansas? Yeah, that's true. Kansas not banning abortion. That was wild. At the polls, there were a lot of 18 to 28-year-olds in your area. Oh, that's huge. This is by Big Hawk. Yes, Kansas, different topic, but we can bring it up. We had a number of elections yesterday. Our big elections are in the fall, in November, but there were a number of primary elections and also some, important elections in the states. The state of Kansas, that is very Republican, very conservative, was holding I don't know how they do it, but a ballot initiative or whatever they call it in the state, where basically they were voting yes or no to repeal a provision of the state constitution, so not the U.S. Constitution, but the Constitution of the state of Kansas, that guarantees women the right to an abortion, more or less. And because of it, they can't ban abortion in the state because it would be unconstitutional under Kansas law. So the Republicans, the conservatives that are pro-life, which pretty much are the people, no, I mean, it is. I shouldn't say pretty much. All Republicans are not pro-life, but all pro-lifers, no, let me rephrase this. The pro-lifers run the Republican Party today in America. All Republicans are not pro-life, but pro-lifers run the Republican Party. Well, they held this election yesterday, and it won. I want to say it was 58% in favor of keeping the Constitution the way it is. 58%, which was huge. Is it 58 or was it more? Oh, no, it was 58%, 58%. Sorry, Elise was weighing in on something else. It's amazing that 70% of all new Kansas voter registrations were, since the Supreme Court decision, were women. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. No, so what they're saying is this appears to have clearly been a case where the first case we've had, it was the first test we had of what voter turnout was going to be like in response to the Supreme Court's decision to eliminate protections for abortions in America. And just to remind folks, because I know it's confusing for Americans as well as the rest of you, what Roe v. Wade did. Roe v. Wade was the Supreme Court case from 1973 that they just got rid of. What Roe v. Wade did, Roe v. Wade, it didn't say abortion is legal. It did, but it protected the right to abortion. So it said it is a constitutional right of women to have an abortion or whatever. And it can be limited in certain ways, and it explained based on trimester, blah, blah, blah. But the idea is it guaranteed the right to an abortion. Now that the Republicans got rid of Roe v. Wade, their Supreme Court appointees, it does not ban abortion. It simply gets rid of the protection. So there is no longer a constitutional protection. In American federal law, we know we do not have a protection. We never had a protection in federal law. So we had the constitutional protection. Now that it's gone, there's no protection for the right to abortion. So states can turn around and ban it if they want. A federal court, if it can find a reason, can ban an abortion, right? In Kansas, they could ban it, except the state constitution protects a woman's right to choose, so they can't. But that's what happened with Roe v. Wade, is it lifted the protection. So then a bunch of states entered and said, great, we're banning abortion right now. And they did. And there are more of them doing it. And now they're trying to find ways of even banning you from going to another state to get an abortion. They're trying to make that a crime. I mean, and the Republicans want to pass a federal law that bans abortion nationwide, which they can if they get control of the Congress. They also would need control of the presidency. But if they do that, they could do that. So this was the first test of any election since that decision was only end of June. It's been 5 weeks probably, right? So there's been no election. This is the first election, and people were curious, what's going to happen? Are women going to turn out? Like, is this going to matter? Or are right wingers going to turn out because they always get excited about banning abortions? And what happened was, it looks like women and young people turned out, and they turned out in massive numbers. I also saw that the voter turnout was 50% of the electorate turned out. Keep in mind, this is not a federal election, and this is not a national election. This isn't the November elections. This is, off season. So you wouldn't normally, they said they get normally like 36% of the electorate turns out. 50% they had predicted 36%, and 50% turned out. I don't know if it was a special election or what it was, but they predicted 36% turnout, and they got 50. And they think that's because of Roe v. Wade. So the interesting question will be, what does this do in November? There's one thing, and I was saying I wanted to have my friend Cliff and some other of the election experts on, because they know the polling and things much better than I do. And what has been interesting, has been just watching the polling on TV of the last couple of weeks. It's been better for Democrats than you would think. I mean, the polling has been really bad, right? That Republicans are going to win the Congress, the Senate, and the House. It's gotten better. It's still bad. It's less bad, but it is less bad than it was. What you're seeing is, for example, Biden's poll numbers are horrific, but the generic ballot for Congress shows that more people want Democrats, or it's tied. The problem is gerrymandering and all this kind of crazy stuff we have here in America, which basically allows you to steal elections. So Democrats, in order to win the election, win the Congress, Democrats have to have way more votes than Republicans, or we can't win the Congress. It's a crazy, not a very good system, In any case, so this is very interesting. It's a really interesting statement. It's one time, but it's interesting as far as what happens in November. And it should energize women even more. I shouldn't just say women. I've got to stop saying that, because the abortion rights movement always does that, and it drives me crazy. They always talk about women, and I'm always like, men are involved too. First of all, you need men as allies, but also we should be scaring the hell out of men, saying, guess what? You're going to have a baby too, daddy, 17-year-old daddy, or 35, or 40-year-old parents with 20-year-old kids, or 50-year-old parents. Your little 18, 19-year-old, he gets a girl pregnant. He's going to be a daddy. He's dropping out of school. Is that your dream you had for your son? I mean, we should be scaring the hell out of these parents and out of men overall about their sons. Exactly, Handmaid's Tale. But we should be scaring the hell out of them. So I always say, do not fail to mention guys, because frankly, we need to scare guys. This is the other thing I always say too, because Democrats do this a lot. Democrats have a natural, I don't want to say instinct or whatever, to talk about poor people. And the problem is we don't just do it. We do it too much. And what I mean is, like, I brought this up before, but Obamacare. Democrats were trying to sell, Obama's big healthcare program. And Democrats, I was here at the time, were trying to sell it as, lots of poor people can't get insurances. This is going to help them. And at the time, we were just coming out of we were trying to come out of the horrific, almost world depression, right? 2009. And people were worried about, whether we were going to have another depression. And Democrats were telling people, hey, I've got an idea. Let me do something that's not going to help you, but it's going to help the poor guy down the street. Well, we'd like to think people are that, what's the word I'm looking for? Magnanimous, but they're not. People worry about, I mean, I think this would be in politics. People worry about themselves first. And my point in this is it was helping poor people, but Obamacare did so much for everybody else too. And Democrats didn't talk about that. And finally, it took Democrats like 8 or 9 years to finally learn to talk about Obamacare the right way. And Americans loved it. And then Americans even defended it at the polls. But it's because Democrats do this failure. And what they're doing on Roe v. Wade, the same thing. The first thing that happened, I saw Elizabeth Warren, God bless her. You know, I like Elizabeth Warren, but Elizabeth Warren goes on TV and she and some other pro-choice advocates got on TV and said, you know who this is going to hurt? Poor Black women. And I'm going, oh God. I'm like, I'm kind of going, and what percentage of the electorate is poor Black women? You know, this is going to help women. A lot of you out there, you're not going to be affected. You know, middle class, you're fine. And I'm going, you can go to the next state. And I'm literally throwing things at my TV going, shut up. Like, do not tell most women that they're not going to be affected. First of all, it's not necessarily true. But also, even if it weren't true, why the hell would your message be to tell most women you'll be fine? I mean, but this is what Democrats do. This is why I say Democrats suck at messaging. And it's from the heart. I get what she was doing. She was worried about poor women, and that's great, right? Poor Black women especially. But she was literally targeting her message to one small segment and telling the rest of the population, you're fine. Anyway, drives me crazy. But like I said, so abortion, as we said, it could be not only any of you, it could be any of your children. And that makes it apply to every family in America. You know, you want your daughter to have to go to another state? And frankly, you know, I mean, everything about it. Ugh. And frankly, if she goes to another state, she could be criminally liable. I mean, that's the argument, right? You know, she could be criminally liable. She can't necessarily go to another state. They're going to try to stop that from happening, you know? No, exactly. I get her point, David. That's the whole thing. Like, I get where she's coming from, but these Democrats, they're actually part of the problem. I say Democrats, but I think it's people on the left. You know, a lot of people on the left believe in helping people. You know, the goal isn't just to help themselves, although people on the right might make the same argument. But they think because they're altruistic that their arguments will sell themselves. So they think, right? We don't have to sell our arguments, right? Everybody understands that. And so therefore we can focus on talking about the other stuff, you know? Leon Wieselteller, or I can't pronounce the name, but sure. I know he's got the center or whatever. You mean the center of the foundation or whatever? Of Leon, or was it Wieselteller? I can't pronounce it. Tell me, Joseph, what about it? And actually, I'm going to call it quits in a second because we're at 20 after. And like I said, someday I'm hoping my voice gets better. What about him, Joseph? I may be mixing it up with thinking of the guy that has the foundation, or I think it's named after somebody actually, like a big Jewish foundation. Maybe not. Repeat. All right, well, let's see what he does. All right, I'm going to hang out for another couple of minutes just to hang with you guys. No more substance. Try to rest the voice a little bit so we can call it quits here. And there we go. I do always forget to tell folks, follow me. Make sure you follow me on TikTok and all the other apps that you guys are on. If you would, subscribe or follow. Oh, do a recap. You are right. All right. Let me grab the recap here. Okie dokie. All right. All right. So I started by saying my store is now open. A lot of cool Ukrainian stuff, t-shirts and all. Thanks, Carol. I did see your email. That was very helpful, Carol. I was going to write you. You gave me some good ideas. I was going to write you back. You got me thinking of more ideas. The store is now open for my t-shirts and other things. Well, so far just t-shirts. It's at erevosis.com to make it easy. My last name, erevosis.com. And there will be a lot more things there coming shortly. Sasha merch, we still got to work on it. Either somebody can help me make some or whatever, but definitely somebody had suggested some Sasha military merch. like Sasha pulling the Russian tank, and I was like, okay, that I kind of think that's pretty funny. Now that would be very inside baseball just for us, but it still would be kind of funny. I don't want to do too much inside baseball, but that one would be pretty funny. And there will be more. That's why I haven't posted a lot on TikTok the last couple of days, because each of those images, I've been taking a lot of time to work on it. So, yep, Slava Ukraini. I'm going to eventually make stuff. Currently, they only give me the option of making t-shirts sweatshirts and t-shirts and posters. But that's it. And I believe Syndicate had said he's worked with these guys before. They're very good. Represent.com. They're very good. That they pretty much, as you sell things, it sort of unlocks additional things. I guess it's an incentive. That is the pic from the sunflower planting. Yes, I was hoping people would figure it out. I didn't want to make it just a me pic, but I liked it because it was there. I was wearing a little Ukrainian thing. And if you look in the background, very subtly at the storefront picture on the left, it's very subtle, but you'll see some people who were digging right in front of the Russian embassy. And vaguely, you'll see some blue and yellow from some stuff they had around a tree and some flags they had. So, any case, let me tell you the rest of the news. So, after Germany pressured Canada to return a repaired turbine to Russia, the Russians now say they don't want it. Surprise. British military intelligence says, as a result of a Ukrainian strike against a Russian ammunition train, the supplies from Crimea are out at least for a few days. The Ukrainians hit 2 ammunition depots in Kherson. The Institute for the Study of War says that, Ukrainian civilians chased 40 Russian doctors out of abandoned Ukrainian homes in which they were squatting in Kherson. The Russians are having a hard time finding civilian doctors and are having to bring in Russian doctors because the Ukrainian doctors either aren't there or are insisting, thank you, Inspired Woman and Kanausi, the Ukrainian doctors are refusing to treat Russians, which I thought was pretty wild. The school year isn't starting on time because Ukrainian teachers are also refusing to abide by the Russian edicts. And they're having to bring in Russian teachers. The first Ukrainian vessel with grain has passed its first series of checks in Turkey and is now heading to Lebanon. Switzerland has adopted the European Union sanctions on Russia's Sberbank, or Sberbank. I think it's probably more correctly pronounced if I'm correct. The Associated Press, the United Nations nuclear chief, is warning that Europe's largest nuclear plant near Zaporizhzhia, Ukraine, which is currently occupied by the Russians, is completely out of control, and the Russians are not allowing inspections to happen. The U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken also noted that Russian forces are continuing to use the Zaporizhzhia plant as a human shield for a military base. The Pentagon dismissed Russian claims of having destroyed several of the HIMARS rocket systems. The Russians claimed the Ukrainians brought the HIMARS onto a second floor they drove the truck onto a second floor of a building, which I have to admit, if you were trying to hide it somewhere the Russians wouldn't guess, the second floor of a building would be a place I would guess you wouldn't hide a truck. In any case, the U.S. says it's total BS, that the Russians are lying. There is a unconfirmed report that the Ukrainians may have already sent a number of drones to the Russians in a business deal. Ukraine has raised $20 million more money crowdsourcing for its own drones. Thank you, Arabella, for the hat and mustache. I missed that a second ago. And the last little thing was Forbes calculates that the Ukrainians shot down 7 of 8 Russian cruise missiles yesterday, and that it cost the Russians $91 million. So there. Woo-woo. All right, guys. That's it for today. I'm crazy. I even woke up early this morning. I couldn't sleep. I woke up early because I was thinking I wanted to go and edit my photos for the shop, which is really stupid because this is why I don't sleep well. I get work things in my head and I can't get them out. And I was just thinking, ooh, this, because I enjoy that kind of stuff and I love editing photos and things. The store website is my last name, aravosis.com. I mean, that's the easy URL. That will take you there. There's a much longer website, but that's the easy one. So, yeah, tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, Thursday. We'll be meeting at 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. New York City time, the same time. As always, I will set that up in a second. And all right, guys. Yeah, let me go. I'm going to go just so I can try to chill out a little bit. Because I'm very tired. As always, someone else is new. I had endoscopy, whatever it is when they go through your nose and down your throat. That's what I had today. The store is now in my profile. Yes, I forgot to say that. You could also go to the store by simply going to the web address in my profile, Beacons. And when you go there, the very first thing, this is to the TikTokers, the very first thing that comes up is my store. Or again, it's mylastname.com, aravosis.com. So literally it's the name at the top of your screen. Thank you, Ashley, for that. So yeah, guys, let's call it quits. I'm going to take a chill pill. Oh gosh, and I'm still not convinced. I hate this light over my face. It's too bright. It's too bright. It's too bright, I tell you. We'll see. Because I'm a righty too, so it's weird having you guys over here. But I will say, I do think, like, for you, if you're not going to have, because the curtains are closed, I wanted to give the TikTokers a better view. So you get half of a view. My family room. It's my family room, my living room, and I'm in my kitchen. You can tell how big my apartment is. All right, guys, have a good night. Yeah, the store is good for starters. I'm going to have a lot more stuff. Okay, last little question. Interesting question about ladies' t-shirts. I was looking around, and interestingly enough, the other stores on this site, it's a site that has a lot of represent.com has a lot of really good clients. I mean, they've got a lot, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like a lot of big, it seems to be kind of a high-end site. It's very nice. I'm very impressed with them. And they, so I was checking the other big stores, and the other big stores, I didn't see any women's shirts. I saw all unisex. Yeah, Mansion, exactly. So I remember my Mansion. It's all the unisex tee. So this is actually a unisex tee. And it's the one that all the other stores, not all, but a ton of other top stores I went to, this is the one they used. They didn't pick women's. They didn't pick this other guy shirt. They picked the unisex. So I put it there just because I could certainly add. I mean, I can't do it right now. This will renew in a week, or I can maybe not have it renew. I've got to figure out how to do it. So I can, because I can't. Well, I can't add it. I can't add it now because that design is already running. But in future shirts, I could certainly add one of the women's shirts. But the question is it one of those like little women's shirts that goes tight like this? Is it a V-neck? Is it I don't know what women wear, That's why. And again, I was surprised how many of the shops use the unisex. That's why I put it in there, So any feelings? Well, this is the problem, is everyone's going to say something they like. The V-neck and yeah. And I think part of it too is, I don't know, I worry about having sort of too much choice in it being confusing and blah, 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 although that may not be the case. V-neck or fitted? No V-neck. Well, again, the one that's there is unisex. So supposedly, have a poll. I mean, I could do a poll. The only thing, I still feel like for years I've been selling shirts and it seems to be all over the place, Well, think about it. I need a partner. To figure these things out is what I need. All right, guys, let me go. Think about it. We still have time. Exactly. Oh, trust me, Harvey, Nathan and I already talked about that. I'm going to do a pump and dump NFT. That's fabulous. I mean, I was talking about NFTs just for fun, but I wasn't thinking of a pump and dump. That's very funny. and then Nathan and I escaped to Venezuela, to Moscow, and go live with Edward Snowden. All right, guys, goodbye. I'm gonna give my voice a night. Bonne nuit. Oops. All right, and you guys too. Good night.